around my story.
As soon as I enter the school, everyone knows that I have arrived. The principal is asking about me, and the teachers are greeting me. I am a star. Let me introduce myself to you. I am Alita. I have super intelligence. Not only that, I have many advantages. I am not the one who says that, but my friends and relatives, and of course my family, who also draw my attention to this. I was also always the first in school because I got the highest grades, and I always excelled very much. Not only that, any difficult question the teacher asks in class, I was the alpha. Only I know how to answer it. First, the question is written on the board. All the girls in the class look at me, and then they look at each other, whispering, trying to find the answer. And I leave them for a while, and my eyes are on them. Maybe someone knows the answer, and then I raise my hands and answer. Everyone claps for me, and after the class ends, the break comes. I used to go to the yard, and the girls gather around me, and they ask me at that time. I leave my food and drink, take their notebooks, and explain to them everything they wanted. That is why I was also loved, because cleverness alone does not make someone love you. It must be accompanied by kindness and morals, and this is what disgusted me. But the more people love me, the more I get exposed to strange situations. I don't know how or why. First of all, when I went to open my bag to study that day lessons, I found that my notebook was not there. It evaporated. It disappeared. I looked for it under and above the desk. I wanted to study from it. What should I do? I called my best friend Lucy and told her to send me the lesson that she wrote. And in order to send it, I waited all day. She sent it at 12. 12 a.m.? Why? How can I study now? I went to school again on the next day without homework or notebook, even without me personally, because I did not sleep enough. The strange thing is that on that day, Lucy did not talk to me and kept avoiding me all day. So I went to talk to her after school. She stretched out in front of me and ran away. I didn't know what is wrong with her, so decided to go to her home. When I arrived, I heard her laughing loudly, so I looked at her from behind the trees in her garden. I caught a glimpse of her talking to girls, talked about me, and said that she would teach me a life lesson. She started mocking me while saying, "She is always the first and everyone loves her. I will show her." I was amazed at her words and told myself, which lesson? She is jealous of me, even though I help her and love her very much. Suddenly, she pulled out my notebook from her bag and started to cut it. I was distressed, and I kept feeling that my mind would go away from me. Why did she do this to me? She is my best friend. I kept wary of her, and then I had many enemies. One day, on my way to school, one of the girls named Tisha pulled me by my hair and knocked me to the ground until I was wounded in my face. And because of the shock, I could not speak or move and decided to go home. The second day, I complained about her, but she denied it and said that I slandered her, and I kept asking myself why all this jealousy and hatred. Every day I had a new story, and I did not know how to focus on studying or anything else. On the weekend, I went to the club and I met Linna, my classmate, a calm and beautiful girl who was playing basketball with me. After we played, we sat and talked, and I told her what was happening to me. She told me that it is normal that everyone is bullying me because I am smart and beautiful, and honestly, I was convinced for a short time, but then I had an idea. I decided to learn a combat sport to defend myself, so I learned Taekwondo, and they were afraid of bullying me. I combined excelling in my studies and being able to defend myself. Do you think these bullying friends were able to change me? And could they get me to where? My name is Emma, a medical student. My mother is a famous lawyer. I am her only daughter. I am always proud that this woman is my mother, and I try to look at her in everything. Although I am too old to drive me to the university, She still prepares my breakfast for me and takes me to the university, and then she goes to her office. Marco is my college at the university and the son of my mother's friend from a long time ago, and also neighbors. We have been friends for many years. We may have feelings, but none of us confess to the other for not to lose each other if the other did not have the same feelings. 2 days ago, I spoke to my mother about this issue. She told me that if I have feelings for Marco, I should talk because he might also be afraid of losing me. I decided that I had to tell Marco about my feelings. I invited him for juice in the university cafeteria, and I started asking him, "Why are you not been in a relationship until now?" I was surprised by his answer, as if he was waiting for my question. He told me if I decided to get engaged, I would only be with you. I told him I agree. I didn't imagine that it would be so easy after all the years that we kept silent. We agreed that each one of us would say to his mother. I went home this day very happy, but after I entered the house, I heard Mom in her office talking to someone. It was a woman's voice telling her, "You have to help me as I helped you and gave you my daughter to live with us as if she is your daughter. I will not go to prison again. Neither my age nor my health will allow me to go to prison. And just as I have been away from my life and my daughter's life all these past years, you must pay for the perfect life I made you live." What am I hearing? I don't understand. There was something wrong. Who is this woman and why is Mom silent? I opened the office door and entered. "Mom, who is this?" As soon as the woman looked at me, I felt I was looking in the mirror, but on my features 20 years older. The same eyes and hair, but with 2 white strands. The smile is the same. Who is she? She was saying I gave you my daughter to raise her. Am I the daughter of this woman? Mom, I don't understand anything. Suddenly I found the woman who says that she is my real mother approaching me and saying, "I am your mother who gave birth to you, but only because of a small sin, I went to prison for a while. I had no solution but to leave you with the lawyer who was defending me at the time. She won you. I lost you. And I lost years of my life in prison because I stole so that you and I could live. I don't believe what you were saying. This is not true. This is not my story. Tell me, Mom. This was the happiest day of my life today. How does it end this way? How do you hide that from me all these years? What did you steal again and want her to defend you? I am now the daughter of whom of you?" The 2 in one voice said, "You are my daughter." I now have 2 mothers, one defending the right and the other a thief. Until now, I don't understand anything. Don't know how to tell Marco my truth or continue with him without telling him. I don't know what to do. I can't forgive my mother for hiding the truth all these years.
I'm Joe, 18 years old. I don't know when and how this year passed, but all I remember, it's the worst year I ever had. I'm the only son of a successful businessman who was always involved in all my decisions. He even sent me to live with my uncle and his children to be in the same school as his partner's daughter Maria. They agreed in the past that we'll get married, and the partnership between them becomes greater than work and interests by being one family. Of course, I refused in the beginning, but as usual, my refusal or my approval was not necessary for him, and although I strongly objected to his decision, the next day I was on the plane. I arrived at my uncle's house very sad, but their welcome made it easy for me. And at school, after I saw Maria, I will not deny I liked her. She's a beautiful girl, and she has all the characteristics that any young man could look for, although I know her since she was a little girl, but I haven't seen her for 3 years. But I had only one obstacle: Marcus, the handsome young man who had a distinguished personality and was very confident in himself. Maria liked him, and they always stayed together at school. At first, I thought they were just friends. After a while, I found him getting closer to her, and Maria almost didn't deal with anyone but him. They always sat together in the school restaurant, and they went out together, and they were always laughing. One day I felt it was over. Marcus took my place, and this is a difficult thing to allow. I had to take a stand, but every time I tried to deal with or get closer to Maria, I felt that she rejected me. When Henry, my cousin, saw Maria and Marcus together in the street, and they were holding each other's hands and were very happy, he came to me and said, "Your chance is over, and you won't be able to attract Maria." Of course, I got nervous and told him, "Who is that, Marcus? Are you kidding? It's impossible for Maria to leave me and be with Marcus." I said it with all arrogance, although I was sure that Maria really loved him and that my chance to reach her heart became impossible unless Marcus was no longer there. At the time, I was thinking about how to get rid of Marcus being around Maria everywhere. Albert told me that I have to act before missing the opportunity. I left them and went to my room thinking, what should I do? Although it was very clear that the handsome German young man, Marcus, with his elegance and charisma, was the one who captured Maria's heart from the moment he came to school, my future and my whole life's success were linked to my relationship with Maria. There was no solution for me except that I try to reach her in any way, whatever. The important thing is I succeed in the end. I got tired of thinking and decided to sleep. As soon as I arrived at school in the morning, I moved quickly and went to talk to her. At first, she was talking like in the days when Marcus was not in our lives. And suddenly, the first time I told her that we are far away and we must be close again, and that she doesn't share anything with us anymore, I found her looking far away. I turned to see what she was looking at. I found Marcus approaching us. I looked at her again to complete my words, but she left me and went without telling me. I was shocked and fixed in my place, trying to control my nerves so as not to hit Marcus, but I couldn't. And when I started moving towards Marcus and Maria, Henry, Albert, and Carter noticed and moved toward me quickly and stopped me. I tried to get him out of the way, but I couldn't. Then they took me and left the school, and at that time I got a call from my dad. I couldn't answer it at the time and turned off the phone. When we returned home, we entered my room and he called me again, so I had to answer him. And as usual, his short calls were 2 words. He told me that after a week there will be the annual celebration of the founding of the parent company of his group of companies, and that I have to come with Maria so that he and her father will set the date for the engagement. And of course I heard and I didn't know what to say. We ended the call, and this was the first time he made a short call that didn't have any feelings to be useful for me. And after I calmed down, I got up to break anything and everything in front of me. Harry told me what happened. Calm down and tell us, and we'll act. I calmed down and told him that everything is over for me, my life, and my future, which depends on the presence of Maria in my life. And all the plans that he has been making for a long time will be lost because of me. I will be the failed son of a father who spent years building his empire because Maria preferred Marcus over me. Albert suddenly said, "We have to get rid of Marcus." I said, "How?" He said we'll try to make him a problem in the school and expel him from it. And that's how we got rid of him. And of course, no one will know that we're the reason. I told him, I agree. What should we do? Carter interrupted me while I was talking and said, "This will not work, no matter what the problem is. We will not be able to expel him from school because Marcus's father owns the largest percentage of shares in the school. And after we had found a solution to get rid of Marcus, it became clear that the solution would not lead to problems for anyone other than us." We all sat silent and lost hope. It's just a week, and everything will be lost for me because of Marcus. Henry suddenly said the quickest way to get rid of your enemy is to accompany him. We have to get close to Marcus. We all shut up and looked at each other, and I told them, but we have to move according to an exact plan. And none of us make mistakes in anything. In a moment, I had an idea. There will be a car race in 2 days, and we must convince him that we'll participate in it, as if everything was ready, arranged, and waiting for us. Albert said, "And we'll benefit from his participation in the race. What will you benefit from if you win against him?" I told him, "Who said I would beat him? The idea is that we put pills and different types of drugs in Marcus's car on the basis that he deals in them, not just drinks them. And this is the reason he'll be in prison for no less than 10 years. Of course, Maria did not wait for him all this time, and her view of him would be different. And no one objected to the idea, or even his conscience alerted him, even for a moment. But there was a problem. How are we going to put these drugs into his car? This is the hardest point. Albert said there's only one way. We'll tell him about the race tomorrow, and tell him we'll all go check and fix our cars, and that he will come to us. And there I will know how to put the pills in a good place in the car. I interrupted him and said, in the right time before the race starts, we'll report the police, but our movement in the race will be very normal, and I hope no one shows anything about it. We do not want the plan to fail in any way. Indeed, the next day, we met Marcus as soon as we entered the school, and we talked to him. He agreed that he would participate in the race, and we agreed that we would gather after school and go to fix our cars at Albert's shop. Albert's friend. We arrived at Albert's shop. Henry, Carter, and I took Marcus and sat on the side to distract him from Albert by showing him pictures of the prizes we had taken from the past races. After Albert finished his mission, he came to us and said, "Come on, let us all take a ride as a training session for tomorrow." Each one of us got into his car and we moved. I deliberately drove at a high speed to see how Marcus would behave, and also so that he would know the competition tomorrow will not be easy. And that is how I guarantee that his high speed will serve us in the police chasing, especially since he doesn't know what's going on with him. I don't know how my thinking was criminal in an organized manner, as if I was born criminal. And the strange thing is, while I was thinking about all this, I was very happy. And I did not feel that I was destroying the life of another young man. He had no fault except that he was better than me, because at least he knew exactly what he wanted. We went home that day as if we were returning from a great victory, and excited about what will happen the next day. And the awaited day came. And Albert, Henry, and Carter and I got ready and went to school this day, and the smile did not leave our faces. As soon as we entered the school, we found Marcus standing with Maria. He smiled at us and raised his hand to greet us. We smiled at him, and Carter said, "Come on, let him say goodbye to her. It's the last day in the life of freedom for him." We all laughed out loud. The decisive hour is near. We finished school and went back to the house getting ready. Each one of us put on our racing clothes and went out. We arrived at the place of the race. Marcus was there before us. We greeted him and got into the cars. At this time, we informed the police of all the details from an unknown number. The race started. In the beginning, I was ahead of Marcus, and the rest of us were close. And the rest were close to us. And then I let Marcus lead in the race. And in a short time, we found the police appeared on the racetrack. And of course, we opened the way for them to reach Marcus. Marcus was driving at a great speed at the time, and he could not comprehend or understand what was happening. Every time the police cars approached him, he moved away and increased the speed until a police car cut his way and stopped in front of him. The officer got out and asked him to get out and search the car. Of course, Marcus didn't refuse. He didn't understand what the reason was, so he stopped close to the car to see what was happening. A police dog approached the car, got into the back seat, and took out from under it a large black bag wrapped with brown sticky tape. Marcus was shocked by what he saw, and of course, he realized that this meant imprisonment. So he got into his car at great speed and moved to flee. And of course, the police quickly chased him. My cousins and I were standing at a short distance watching what was happening. And at the time when Marcus escaped, we also walked behind the police to see the last shot of our victory when they arrest Marcus, and that the obstacle between me and Maria no longer existed. The strange thing is that Marcus was driving at a crazy speed, and suddenly, something happened that I didn't expect. In the beginning, I was close to Marcus and the police cars, but because of Marcus's crazy speed, the distance between us became great, but also we kept getting close and seeing what was happening with our eyes. But suddenly we heard a loud explosion. We got a little closer and got out of the cars to see what was going on, and when we looked from our place, we saw a terrible fire swallowing the car. We looked at every place, not finding Marcus's car, and all the police cars standing close to the car that exploded. It turned out that Marcus's car went out of the way of the race and turned over more than once, and this was the cause of the explosion. We all thought the same way, but none of us could say what we were thinking. At this time, we heard an officer saying quickly, "Bring the fire extinguishers and control the fire." But it was useless, and I kept screaming and saying, "I'm the reason!" Carter and Henry tried to calm me down, and Albert was not moving from his place. I tried to push them away from me, and I fell to the ground while telling Marcus I'm the reason. We all broke down, except for Carter, who was able to control the situation and his feelings. He helped us each get into his car, and we moved after he spoke to Albert so that he would come and take my car and take it back because I wasn't in any condition that would allow me to drive and go home. We had to move quickly and get away from the scene of the accident before the police saw us to ask us why we were there. We all went home, trembling, not realizing what had happened, and I refused to believe what we saw was true. The idea that I became a murderer. Yes, I did not kill by my hands, but the reason is my greed that led to Marcus running away from something that he had no guilt or relationship with. I'm the one who planned everything. I'm the reason. I'm the reason. I kept screaming and saying that. And suddenly, we heard the doorbell ringing. We were sure it was the police and that we were lost. Henry opened the door. He found Maria collapsed and crying. "Tell me, how could Marcus die? He wasn't going to race with you. What exactly happened there?" And we all stood next to each other and looked at her and cried. Suddenly, I found her approaching me, her eyes full of sadness and anger at the same time, and she was screaming at me, telling me, "Joe, that what happened has nothing to do with you." And of course, I couldn't say anything. And she continued her words, "Tell me this did not happen. How did he die so easily and in this horrible way? I'm not even able to see him and bid him farewell." And she broke down. What I was able to do is that I went to my room and kept breaking everything in front of me until I fell unconscious. Since then, I've been waking up screaming, "Fire! Fire!" because of the nightmare that I see every day. The doctor diagnosed my condition as an acute nervous breakdown. At first, my uncle refused to go to the psychiatric clinic because the news would not spread. But after a week of treatment, there was no improvement for my condition. On the contrary, it was getting worse. He had to take me to the clinic. Maybe there would be any improvement, and now I've been there for 3 months. Of course, the annual celebration of the parent company is past. Can you imagine that my father came to me a month after the accident? I was in the hospital. All that I remember from the conversation between us, or more accurately, the reprimand, while I was silent, all that I remember from his words is that I'm a loser son, that I did not know how to succeed in the only thing he asked of me. I only benefited from his presence in life, and I missed an opportunity from his hand to control the largest percentage of the company's shares. He also knew about Maria's relationship with Marcus, and that I was the reason for the accident. I didn't blame myself for what I did. All he said is that even when I tried to do something right, I failed at it. And he said a lot of words. At the time, my condition still did not allow me to hear everything he said. Despite that, he didn't care about my condition. He left me and went, and since then, he didn't call me even a simple call. And at the time I was in the hospital, I did not know what was happening, and there was only one nightmare in my life. Marcus was pulling me into the fire with him while I was trying to escape, and I woke up screaming. At the time, there was an investigation about the accident and about those close to Marcus in the school. And of course, they summoned Henry, Albert, and Carter, and my condition didn't allow it at the time, and the investigation ended with the case closed. And of course, you understand who closed it so quickly. Maria traveled and moved from school, and I tried to commit suicide more than once, but in the end, I chose to punish myself by saying that I would rather live remembering my crime that destroyed the lives of many people. Imagine that in the end, I discovered that I didn't love Maria at all, and that I was just a toy in the hands of my dad, with which he fulfilled his desires and dreams, not mine. I even discovered that I don't have any specific dreams or desires in life. And after he finally abandoned me, I found my true self, and I started a new life. But my crime will remain with me for the rest of my life. It can be exposed at any time, and I and my cousins will take our punishment. The punishment we had prepared for Marcus from the beginning, without him committing any crime.